Israel-Iran, the conflict ongoing. Let's go to Turkey, because the Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi flew there today from talks with European foreign ministers in Geneva yesterday, but there was no immediate diplomatic breakthrough. In the past few hours in Istanbul, he's been speaking with other foreign ministers of Muslim countries. President Erdogan speaking too, accusing Israel of sabotaging the negotiations with the US, accusing Israel of banditry, of plunging the region into chaos. Around 40 diplomats are gathering there for an Organisation of Islamic Cooperation meeting. Let's hear from both President Erdogan and the Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi.
Diplomacy can work. It worked in the past and it can work in the future. But in order for us to come back to diplomacy, the aggression should be stopped. It is obvious I cannot go to negotiation with the United States when our people are under bombardments, under the support of the United States. We have come, unfortunately, to the conclusion that the United States has been in this aggression from the beginning. You know, they deny, they keep saying that they are not involving, but we have many indications that they have been involved from day one.
Israel's attacks on Gaza, Lebanon, Yemen, Syria, and most recently Iran can be described as acts of banditry. The measures taken by Iran in self-defense to protect its people against Israel's state terrorism are entirely natural, legitimate and legal. We are fully aware of what Netanyahu is trying to do. Israel believe they can establish their security by plunging the region into fire, conflict, chaos and tears. Israel cannot ensure its own security by threatening the security of its neighbours.
Let's go to Washington, D.C. next. We can bring in Ali Vaez, the director of the Iran Project at the International Crisis Group, an independent research and analysis institute. Great to have you on the programme again with us, Ali. First of all, let me get your take. What do you make of Israel's latest statement, its military suggesting a lengthy war is possible?
It's good to see you, Gavin. I think if Israel believed that its military objectives could have been achieved in a few days, then it would be able to destabilize or topple the Iranian regime or completely destroy its nuclear program. It was a very ambitious and unrealistic objective to set. Of course, Iran is a state. It has its institutions are entrenched. It has the rank and files of its military. It can replace commanders that are killed. This is not a non-state actor that you can decapitate and easily get rid of. The nuclear program is dispersed throughout the country, often in very fortified facilities. And Iran has one of the largest and most sophisticated arsenal of ballistic missiles in the region. So this was never a slam dunk or an easy shot to begin with.
How would you assess what Israel have achieved militarily? You talk about they haven't achieved perhaps what they set out to achieve, given the difficulties of trying to hit a nuclear base, particularly with Fordo, for example, which is always going to be impossible. I think with the current military weaponry Israel has, if it's 80 metres below ground. How would you assess that, plus what it says about Israel in the way it's been able to retaliate so far? Iran, I should say, Iran's retaliation.
Look, so if the point of this war of aggression was to stop Iran's nuclear program, as you said, the key here is really the Fordo facility, where you have advanced centrifuges and a stockpile of highly enriched uranium. Now, it was clear from the beginning Israel would not be able to take out that facility. It is only the United States that has the weapons that are able to do so. But at this point, even if you're able to take out the facility, there is now 9 days that IAEA inspectors have not been able to enter that facility. So we don't know if the fissile material is still there. If we destroy the facility, then it would take weeks, if not months, for IAEA inspectors to be able to dig in and remove the rubble and go in to see actually what has happened. In this period, we would have no idea where the nuclear material is. And the reality is that it was so much easier to dismantle Fordo with diplomacy, as it had happened in the past, than to do it with bombs. So I'm just saying that some of these objectives, I think, are highly unrealistic to achieve. And if the US enters the war, then we risk of not only not meeting Israel's objectives, but ending up in a regional conflagration, which would have disastrous implications for everyone, including Europe.
One of the reasons, Ali, Israel is giving for its attacks on the 13th of June is it appears to have been leaked to The Economist, or at least The Economist are running the story that they have given their intelligence counterparts in the US and Europe this point of no return dossier. Within it, it has a detailed account, we're told, of accelerated push by the Iranians towards weaponization, and gives as a justification of the preemptive attacks that Israel is saying. And also coupled with that, just listening today also to a former nuclear expert, David Albright in the US, saying that it's got, in his view, so advanced, it's no longer possible to, quote, tell the difference in them doing it and preparing a path to weaponization. Do you think, from what you've seen, from your research, there is enough principle for justification?
Absolutely not. Look, Prime Minister Netanyahu never hesitated to dangle evidence whenever he has had it in front of cameras. When he stole Iran's secret nuclear archive, he showed it to the international press in 2018. He went to a Munich Security Conference meeting holding up a piece of an Iranian drone. So he has never hesitated if he had evidence to show it. U.S. intelligence has said that there's no evidence of weaponization. IAEA has said there's no evidence of weaponization. The reason the nuclear program was so advanced, and of course, is that the deal that had rolled it back and put it in a box and under the most rigorous monitoring was torn apart by President Trump at the urging of Prime Minister Netanyahu. So we have to, I think, get our facts straight here. And again, the solution here is not through military action. The US and Israel risk destabilizing a country of 90 million without actually being able to block the pathways towards nuclear weapons. This is why in 2003, the US had boots on the ground in Iraq, because there's no other way that you can achieve that objective unless you can do regime change, which is also not something you can do through using air power alone.
If we look, Elliot, the civilian use of quotes from analysts of what you need in terms of nuclear enrichment stands about, 3.5% there and thereabout of enrichment purity. And now we're talking about estimations around 60%, a nuclear breakout perhaps up to about 90%, but way more than is needed. Now, one theory, clearly many theories, one side of that is, as I just quoted you before, this suggestions of its advancement towards trying to rush to a capability. The other side of that is what I've heard a number of Iranian analysts, one former government minister, saying this was also about getting Trump back to the table, not for nuclear weaponry, but to get Trump back to those talks. How do you see that and the reason for having 60% enrichment?
Yeah, look, the reality is that this was seen from the Iranian perspective as leverage. The U.S. had reimposed sanctions on Iran while Iran was complying with its obligations under the 2015 nuclear deal. So the U.S. had built up its sanctions leverage, and the Iranians also needed to build up their nuclear leverage. And that race of sanctions against centrifuges continued. And every time that Iran escalated its nuclear program, it was, by the way, a reaction to Israeli sabotage. Israel killed Iranian top nuclear scientists in 2020, and Iran started enriching to 20%. Then it sabotaged the Natanz facility, and Iran started enriching to 60%. So this is, in a way, also a self-fulfilling prophecy of Prime Minister Netanyahu and President Trump not accepting a good enough deal and trying to get Iran to completely dismantle its nuclear program, which also from a non-proliferation perspective, by the way, is never a good idea. You never want to humiliate a country that has nuclear know-how into submission, because then you basically are encouraging them to take the program underground, cheat, and find a clandestine way towards weaponization.
It may be impossible to answer this question, Ali, but I'm going to ask it and see from your research, your sense of what's going on. Are you able to predict in any way or get an understanding of where the Trump administration may go within the next 2 weeks, this pause period that they've put in place? And perhaps one of the reasons for that is the degradation that Israel says it's caused of Iranian facilities, that there would be no, whether you believe it or not, the advancement. There's certainly going to be no immediate threat there. So it's kind of a breathing period. But where do you see this going?
Look, I think the president is very much tempted by this concept that he can go in with a very clean strike on Fordo, take out the facility, and be known as the president that finally put an end to Iran's nuclear program. But I think he's also worried about the fact that there could be mission creep. The United States has often entered into Middle Eastern conflicts thinking that there's an easy exit ramp. But it has been bogged down in a quagmire for years and years. And there is, of course, the risk that even a limited surgical strike on Fordo would result in Iranian retaliation against U.S. Forces in the region. And in case of U.S. casualties, then he would have to engage in a tit-for-tat that, again, could easily spiral out of control and turn into an all-out regional conflagration. I think he is hoping that Israel would be able to inflict enough pain on Iran that Iran would capitulate to his demand. The problem is that from the Iranian leadership's perspective, the only thing that they see as more dangerous than Israeli or American bombs is surrendering to American terms, because that would set a precedent that under bombardment, Iran would be able to capitulate to any US or Israeli demand.
Ali, as always, good to talk to you. Good to get your thoughts this evening here on France 24. Ali Vaez, Project Director for Iran at the International Crisis Group. Thank you.